I'm Rob Parnell, and this is Right Now, the fantasy fiction formula. Now, most fantasy writers have been constructing their fictional world since childhood. It grows with them. They add to it as they develop as writers and people, until it's so real to them that writing about it feels fairly effortless, even when they seem to have created a huge and very sophisticated universe. But if you're new to the genre, where do you begin? Well, I've got a book about it on Amazon if you're interested. Go take a look. Many professional fantasy writers will joke about the formula for good fantasy, because indeed it does exist, and good fantasy authors still use it. Not because they're lazy, but because the fans want it. In fact, they insist on it. It has been condensed thus. Hero, artifact, quest. That's it. All you need to start a fantasy novel. Think Frodo, the Ring, and the Journey to Mordor, and you'll see what I mean. I prefer something a little more organic and creative. So, get a very large sheet of paper, A3 at least. That's about 3 feet by 2 in the US. Draw an outline for your kingdom, or provinces. Experiment with the shape of coastlines, archipelagos, and spits. Maybe put some islands around it. Use a blue crayon or chalk to shade in the sea, and draw a compass somewhere on the paper to orientate the map. Maybe a scale too. 1 inch equals 100 miles, say. Divide your kingdom into countries or regions. Draw in the borderlines. Using different colour pencils, add mountain ranges, lakes, rivers, whatever you like. Start placing the important cities and towns, farming communities, military posts, etc. Start thinking about trade routes, badlands and resistance enclaves where nobody goes. Now, don't forget that most fantasy is set in an entirely medieval world where technology is limited to bows and arrows, spears and fire, with a liberal sprinkling of magical swords, jewels or articles of clothing like magic capes or belts. Now, don't take these elements too lightly. They will most likely shape your fantasy plot in many surprising ways. But don't try to violate the genre specifications too much either. I've known many would-be fantasy authors who try and insert guns and flying machines into their world and are promptly asked to remove them by their pedantic publishers. Fantasy readers, it would seem, know exactly what they want. Now for some writing. Invent 3 major castes of inhabitants. For example, human, elven and dwarves, say, or make up your own. One of the castes may well need to be dragons, if you want to be faithful to the formula. Describe the class system for each. Who's the king or the head magician or wizard? How does the government of the elders work? What do the peasants do with their time? Are there bands of mercenaries roaming the countryside? There usually are. Now think of 3 characters for each major caste. Have them related by blood or magic for maximum impact. For instance, 3 characters might turn out to be Princess Tumar, who needs to regain the crown after her father was killed by the evil Magedon, aided by her younger brother, So write a paragraph for every character describing their physical appearance. Give each of the characters an agenda that is at odds with at least one of the other characters. Write a few pages describing the scenario you have invented. By now, you should be feeling an attachment to at least one or more of each character. Choose one to be the hero and give him or her an important quest that they must undertake to gain maturity, power, or enlightenment. Perhaps all 3. Next, choose a magical artifact that the character must obtain during this quest. Don't choose a book. All writers choose books. Then create a huge, threatening situation, a war, natural disaster, or magical event, in which the characters are all at risk of losing their power, authority, self-respect, lives, etc. And then open up a new file and write Chapter 1. Okay, over to you. Keep writing.